Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. You know who it is. And it is time for a weekly track roundup, where I go over what I felt were the best and worst tracks of the week. You know what it is at this point. Quickly, I do want to shout out that I have a tour coming up this May, a West Coast tour, okay? Start of May. It's coming up. And the first date in Vancouver is already sold out, so bye-bye. Bye-bye to that. We also have dates coming up in Seattle, Portland, San Fran, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Link to tickets down below. I will see you guys there. We have a good time. Cal's going to be there. I'm going to be there. It's going to be like a mix of memes and music and a dumb, silly TED Talk. All right. Let's get into the weekly track roundup. Also want to shout out our Amazon and Turntable Lab associate links. Use that Turntable Lab link. We get kickback from it. Buy yourself some vinyl. Treat yourself. And it's the worst tracks of the week. Let's talk about the worst tracks of the week. We do have a handful. One, this new Steve Lacy track. As much as I have grown quite an appreciation for Steve Lacy's work as a solo producer, as a pivotal mind in the group The Internet, this new single of his, Inside, is one of the most needlessly repetitive tracks I've heard in a while, to the point where it is truly mind-numbing. There's some cool loops and grooves on this cut, but not so good that I would repeat them to the extent that Steve does on this track, frankly. Moving on from there, I have already talked about my dislike of this new ScHoolboy Q single with Travis Scott on the Fantano channel. Hit up that review on that channel for, some more in-depth thoughts and everything. But, really lackluster single. ScHoolboy's flow and lyrics are completely lackluster and uninteresting and boring. Do not know why the dude phoned it in so hard on his own track. Travis Scott delivers one of the most annoying and lopsided singles of his career. Really, everybody is punching under their weight on this entire track. Even the beat is kind of generic, so really disappointed. Moving on from there, a new Foster the People single titled Style, which is just a very obnoxious, generic piece of pop rock with kind of a indie edge to it, but it honestly brings no soul to the song whatsoever. And finally, Jesca has seen fit to drop a brand new track, a diss track, against the one and only Anderson .Paak for claiming he has the best teeth in the game, when you know it's me. And generally, this song is bad. It's corny. It has a really bad beat that kind of sounds like the ZZ beat with the steel drums on it. Cal's bars suck, and the vocal mixing sucks. It's way too quiet. So a lot of sucky things about the track, a lot of sucky things about the song. Don't see why Anderson .Paak would feel in the least dissed or attacked by this song. I do appear on the track, but I did against my own will, which is why I sound so flat and unhappy on the song. All right, moving on from there. And keep in mind, that track is linked down below so you can stream it, along with everything else we're talking about in this video. Stream the song. Moving on from there, we have a brand new track from the psych rock outfit known as Wand. This new track titled Rio Grande is, or Rio Grande rather, is, it's okay. It's one of the more low-key cuts that the band has seen fit to release in teasing toward this new album of theirs coming out very soon, and I just found it kind of underwhelming. Not nearly as tingly or engaging or as, I guess, adventurous as what they've been kind of building up to this new album with so far. Moving on from there, the Mountain Goats have dropped a brand new track that I kind of like the ballad of at the core of it, but I don't quite get the appeal of the instrumental, which to me just sounds like the theme song to a really wholesome 80s family sitcom. Don't really get the instrumental direction the band is going with on this track, frankly. Moving on from there, the band The Garden has dropped a brand new single, Thy Mission, featuring Mac DeMarco, of all people. It's got some decent vocals on it, but for the most part, the tune is, I don't know, kind of lopsided and weird and doesn't really stick with me. There's a lot of oddity and attitude to the song, but the songwriting to me just kind of felt I don't know, just not really there, to be honest. Moving on from there, Tame Impala has dropped a brand new single over here that some people are making some noise about. This new one over here is titled Borderline, and in a lot of ways, it sort of follows in suit with the last single Tame Impala wrote. I will say that the tune at the core of this song does feel a bit more solid and has a bit more weight to it. Like the melody is definitely catchier. However, I feel like Kevin Parker has sort of driven the band almost into a direction of anonymity with this track, because the sort of glitzy and dreamy disco grooves he packs throughout this song. And I know this was a comparison I drew with the last track, but it really just kind of sounds like a Toro y Moi track, you know, now even more on this new cut than the previous one. To the point where I'm just not even sure what Kevin is bringing to this sound or this style of music that Toro y Moi isn't or hasn't already. I mean, I guess it's kind of long and it's sort of linear and dreamy, and you kind of get lost in it. But I don't know. Outside of the groove of the track, there's not a lot about it that I'm really all that enamored with. Moving on from there, Pelican has dropped a brand new track. If you are into some very sludgy, heavy, meat and potatoes riffs with some very easygoing progressions and no vocals getting in the way or anything like that, this track is titled Midnight and Mescaline. You might dig on this one. Didn't blow me away or anything, but I've never been like the #1 Pelican fan or anything like that. Moving on from there, a new EP from a hip-hop group that I talked about in a previous episode of Review Your Music or Reviewing Your Music. They have like I said, they just dropped a new EP. It's kind of spacey, kind of mystical, a little psychedelic, kind of soulful, kind of weird. Again, I want to remind you the name of this particular group is New Irth, and this track off of the EP that I dug a little bit is titled Paradigm. Again, with everything else we've been talking about in this video, it's linked down below. Noname has also dropped a track, I think last week, Song 32. I meant to talk about it then, but finally getting around to it now. It's just basically a pretty straightforward beat, smooth, low-key, no-name flows, a lot of bars, not a whole lot in terms of structure or songwriting or anything like that. If you're looking for something with her just straight rapping, something that's kind of a vibe, just a short in and out and that sort of thing, give it a shot. You know, not any of her best stuff, but it seems like she's just kind of like dropping these tracks out of the blue, keeping people's attention on high, and just kind of, you know, I guess keeping in touch with fans and kind of feeding the fan base, hit them with more stuff, hit them with more stuff, hit them with more stuff. Moving on from there, Mark Ronson has dropped a brand new single. As you might remember, I loved the last one that he did with Miley Cyrus from this forthcoming project of his. And this new one is titled Late Night Feeling, features Lykke Lee, and Lee's voice just does not do much for this track, honestly. She really kind of puts me to sleep on the song, to the point where I can't even really appreciate the tune of the track all that much. The production's great. The production is stellar. But outside of that, it's a pretty drab cut. I mean, if you like your dance pop to be super whispery to the point where it is faint and barely has any flavor or oomph to it, maybe you'll dig it. Something to just kind of play in the background, in the changing rooms at Forever 21 or whatever. But outside of that, it doesn't really have a lot going for it. Moving on from there, Lil Uzi Vert has seen fit to drop a couple of tracks this week. Also talked about these over on the Fantano channel. And as far as Uzi goes, I mean, they're utterly average. I mean, the instrumental for one is even really not that good. His flows, pretty much average, just very Uzi blueprint at this point. He really brings nothing special whatsoever to both of these new tracks. They're titled Sanguine Paradise, and that's a rack. Paradise I did prefer to the two, but still, in the grander scheme of Uzi's discography, it's really not that special of a track. Moving on from there, Kevin Abstract. I also talked about this over on the Fantano channel. His Arizona Baby single, which features several different tracks on it, one of which is kind of a low-key banger with some personal bars. The other two just kind of sound like Kevin is riding really, 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 really hard. Some Andre 3000 influences. It's not a bad collection of tracks, but to me just kind of feels like a somewhat rough and a little unfinished set of songs to just keep the fans held over, or maybe just remind people, hey, I'm still kind of a solo artist, and I'm still doing my thing, and maybe at some point you'll see more solo material from me, which he has been teasing toward, because with the release of this EP, he hit fans with a few other dates a week apart, so I'm imagining that he's going to continue on this trajectory of dropping, I guess, more singles, more EPs, more solo material. We're not exactly sure yet because he's being a bit cryptic about the whole thing, but more material is most likely on the way. Moving on from there, another track from Hayden, Thorpe of Wild Beasts fame has come to the surface. This new one over here is titled Love Crimes. I do think the instrumental on this track is really pretty, but the progression of this song is a little underwhelming. It kind of feels like we're just kind of stuck in the same spot forever on this particular track, which is a little unfortunate because I did like his last single, his last teaser cut quite a bit. Still looking forward to when he does drop this new album. Not sure if a review is in the works on it quite yet or anything like that, but it is something I'm definitely looking out for, as he in indie pop and art pop, he definitely has one of the more unique voices out there. And if he does knock it out of the park, I definitely want to be paying attention to that. So moving on from there, Charly Bliss has also dropped a track from their new album, yet another one. And this one over here actually is maybe the most underwhelming of all of them so far. I mean, out of all the tracks the band has been sort of promoting, they've really been kind of pushing a slightly new sound with a fuller, richer, more synthetic production palette. This new track over here, however, is a bit more of just like a straightforward pop rock tune with kind of a 90s twist, and, 90s alternative rock and indie rock has always been kind of a huge touchstone for Charly Bliss, and I feel like that's almost kind of like preventing them from growing and advancing on this new track over here, as this new song sounds pretty generic, frankly. If I didn't already say it, which I did not, the title of this track is Hard to Believe. Moving on from there, Chance the Rapper and Lil Yachty have dropped kind of a new freestyle track, as Chance the Rapper is kind of letting fans know and making them aware via social media and this song that he is in debut album writing and recording mode. And obviously, dudes like Lil Yachty are in the immediate area, so he just kind of recorded this short freestyle with Yachty, which is okay, beats okay, flows okay, lyrics okay. Really, this track seems like, more of a reminder than anything that, hey, album's happening, working on the album. Be watching for it. Be aware. Be looking out. Moving on from there, also a new track from Black Belt Eagle Scout, which is a Saddle Creek act that dropped an album not too long ago that I want you guys to be aware of if you're not already, because there are some pretty interesting and low-key and touching, I guess, how to describe it. It's, I guess, singer-songwriter music, but with sort of like an indie rock flavor to it. But, if you're really into some of the low-key, sad singer-songwriter music and lo-fi music and indie music that came out via K Records over the years, that sort of stuff, I think you'll definitely vibe with what Black Belt Eagle Scout is doing. Even if I did find this new song over here myself to be a little underwhelming, honestly. Loss and Relax is the name of this new cut over here. All right, the best tracks of the week over here that I want to make you guys aware of. First off, I want to give a shout out to a Rammstein song that dropped a little while ago, and I forgot to mention it in the last weekly track roundup. It's titled Deutschland. And the band with this track, it's a pretty heavy, pretty epic song attached to a very harrowing and dark and intense music video. Rammstein, being from Germany, has never been shy about addressing, their place of origin and sort of using that as a point of inspiration in their work in some way, shape, or form. And this new track over here, given our current political climate, I think is pretty interesting, given that they find themselves in a position where, they want to feel happy and prideful about their country of origin and where they come from, but also they can't let go of and can't forget their country's particularly incredibly fantastically dark past. And something in America, I think, sometimes we need to be a little bit more reflective about as well. Our country's dark past. Obviously, in the case of Germany, it gets pretty dark, and the music video and the song definitely kind of addresses that in an interesting way. And digging the tune at the core of it a lot. The track is really heavy, hits really hard. The song has this supremely dark feel to it that I think matches the tone and the energy and the message of the track really well. And, I used to listen to Rammstein quite a bit back in the day when I was a little bit more into nu metal and alt metal and industrial metal. And there was a point in their career where I think they did fall off a little bit. I still do kind of favor some of the older records quite a bit. And, I think this new song over here definitely marks a bit of a comeback, in my opinion. This sounds like the band revitalized in a way. So pretty happy to hear the band coming out with such a good tune, and also not being shy about sort of addressing important issues and even socio-political topics head on, which is not really been something the band has ever been shy about. Addressing taboos and sacred cows and that sort of thing. Moving on from there, I just got a recommendation to try this band out in a recent live stream. Their name is Otoboke Beaver, a Japanese experimental and kind of noisy and alternative rock group that, again, up until recently, I wasn't really aware of. So I got this recommendation to try them, heard some music that I liked, then miraculously, I guess they had a song come out not too long ago. And the name of this new track over here that I want to recommend to you guys is Datsu, hikage no onna. Not sure how to pronounce it. I'm a dumb white guy, and I only speak one language. So, well, English and the language of music, y'all. The language of music. And I do like this new track quite a bit. It hits pretty hard and has that nice, raw, noisy, punky feel that I love from some of the best Japanese rock groups out there, over the years. So the band definitely has something special going on, I would argue, most certainly. Moving on from there, Nails. The band Nails, one of the hardest, heaviest, one of my favorite bands out there. Nails has seen fit to drop a brand new single. One track is I Don't Want to Know You, as antisocial as ever. And the other track is Endless Resistance, featuring Max Cavalera of Soulfly and Sepultura fame. And Max's voice on the track is actually really fantastic. The first song is brutal as hell, really killer combination of tracks. Nails is sounding heavier and as deadly as ever, and cannot wait for the band to drop some new material, hoping for a new album sooner rather than later. Nails, fuck yes. Moving on from there, you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard has dropped another new song. The band is relentless with all of these new tracks. Planet B is the name of this new cut over here, and it's amazing. The band literally writes an experimental thrash metal epic on this one. Yes, the band literally goes thrash metal on this new one, and it's really good. It's killer. It's heavy. The riffs are great. The performance is fantastic. Production is good. The vocals sound great. They really embody the style and put their own little weird psych experimental spin on it. And the tune and the writing itself is multi-phased and goes through a lot of changes. It's, like I said, it's epic. It's amazing. Just really excited for the risks and the changes the band is undergoing. Because as far as rock music goes, generally King Gizzard is one of the most exciting groups out there, and they continue to prove as to why that is with tracks like this. Moving on from there, Jesca Hoop has dropped another new track, which is kind of meditative, a little minimal, very stripped back, but I think her voice is really compelling and enchanting on this song. I think even though it doesn't sound quite as quirky, or the sound palette isn't maybe as stark as it was on her last album, still there was a power in simplicity kind of element to a lot of her writing and her performing on that last record, and I feel like that's still kind of the case on this new song over here. which again, enjoying very much. The name of this new track is Shoulder Charge, which you guys, again, should definitely try out. Try out all of these tracks, link down below. All of them in the best tracks this week, section, recommended. Moving on from there, this group who I've been unfamiliar with up until this point, French Vanilla, has dropped a track which is a really fantastic, weirdo, off-the-wall expression of some great kooky post-punk music with some wild-ass vocals, some weird dance grooves. Really loving the energy the band is bringing on this. Going to be looking into this group a little bit further, considering how impressive I felt this single was. It's also attached to a pretty strange music video. Courtney Barnett has dropped another single as well. Look, I'm going to be honest, I haven't been the biggest fan of Courtney's music up until this point, and maybe there is something about her stuff that maybe I just favor it a lot more in small doses. But you know what? I did find her, kind of slacker voice and her very verbose lyrics and her garagey guitar licks and grooves on this track to be pretty compelling. Not really anything hugely different from what she's been doing up until this point. So if you have loved Courtney Barnett's work up until now, you are probably going to be wowed by this track as well. It's very much in her wheelhouse, and I think done pretty well. Whether or not it means that much to me when I hear it in the context of a whole album of songs that sound like they're in the same vein, or maybe there's a few duds or whatever, I don't know. But as of right now, I can tell you that this song I thought was pretty engaging. Moving on from there, the band Black Mountain, who I've been talking about some new material from for a little bit now, they have teased toward their next record, Destroyer, with another track. This one being one of the weirdest songs I think the band has ever recorded. Boogie Lover is the name of this track, and it features a very fuzzy, funky, slinky, and strange bass line. It sounds like a bass line, or a very distorted, fuzzy guitar lick or whatever, but it sounds like a bass line, and it also features some very freaky, odd vocals. The band really throws it back to the days of old school psych on this one, but they have a new kind of tongue-in-cheek attitude about what they're doing that I think gives the track a kind of contemporary weirdness to it that I like quite a bit. Moving on from there, the band Baroness has also dropped another song. Baroness heads, sludge metal heads, epic, triumphant metal ballad heads, be on notice. New Baroness. Frankly, I did not really care for the last single the band dropped before this new one titled Seasons, as I thought it sounded like a kind of toned down leftover from their last record. However, I kind of felt like that was not necessarily the case with this new one over here. Feels like the band is continuing to push it further into a more melodic direction, though, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because in the case of this track, in doing that, they were still able to maintain just the epic heaviness that Baroness is known for, and really enjoying, again, the direction that they're moving in, as long as the song quality and the sound quality remains this high, because another thing about the last track, in my opinion, it just kind of felt a little, hollow. The guitars didn't really have that much punch to them. Not really the case in this track, though. Not the case with this particular track, though. So digging on the new Baroness over here. And that is going to be it for the weekly track roundup, everybody. Once more, I do want to remind you, we do have those amazing tour dates coming up. We have the amazing tour dates coming up, and I can't wait to see you guys on the West Coast very soon. So links to those tickets down below. Links to all the songs I talked about down below. Get turned on to some new stuff. Keep track of what's dropping. And be on the lookout for my reviews of a lot of these artists, coming down the road. Definitely the Baroness. Definitely Nails whenever they drop something. Definitely frickin' Rammstein when they drop something. So you guys are the best. Anthony Fantano, Weekly Track Roundup, forever.